From financial fraud to glitch to hacks, we've been seeing a lot of this since last year. And we'll be talking about these issues on the podcast today. Other stories we'll also be touching on is Nala's $40 million fundraise and Kuda's entrance into the remittance space. We'll also be looking at the launch of a fintech hub here in Lagos, Nigeria. You're welcome to the Techpoint Africa Podcast. On the podcast today is myself, Bolu, and Jim Gozirin. Let's dive right in. So, a couple of days ago, OPay, it was reported that there was a glitch in one of Nigeria's largest fintechs, OPay, that saw users buy things without them seeing debit. So this caused like a 714 million naira hole inside OPay. It started in December and lasted till March this year, according to the reports. It's it's a very interesting story actually. But the first question we'll be looking at is how exactly did this happen? Chimozim, do you want to give us a a surface level explanation of how that glitch actually happened, and maybe I can follow it up with some other information we found.
Oh, I mean, how did it happen? There was a technical glitch. At least that's what the report says. That's the official story. That there was a technical glitch. So whether the extent of the glitch, so basically, like certain transactions were kind of misclassified, and since they were misclassified, they were erroneously written as approved, whereas they were not, which is basically what led to the
To the glitch.
to the loss. Yeah.
To the loss, yeah. So so if just to explain better, so it's basically you going into a supermarket, you have 100,000 naira in your account, and you buy groceries worth 50,000 naira, and you hand your card over to the cashier, and normally you're supposed to see a debit of 50,000 naira, and then you have 50,000 naira left. But what happened in this case is that after I've paid, right, and the cashier gives me a receipt, and I can go. I get home and I'm still seeing 100,000 naira in my account, basically. So, like Tim Gozum said, it was a misclassification. So, what the report said was that it was supposed to be classified as a pending transaction, but then it was classified as a successful transaction. So, they're saying it was the switch, right, that made this misclassification. So switches are like basically an intermediary when you send money. So if I'm using a GT Bank, for example, and I want to send money to Tim Gozerim, the switch basically is like a middleman, routes the money from my end to Tim Gozerim's bank, which is, let's say, First Bank. So so I spoke to like someone in the fintech space that understands how these things happened, and the person said that what is odd about this particular glitch is that normally most switches, right, they do something called settlements, like daily settlements.
Everybody does that.
Yeah, so when you do your settlements, you compare your debits and your credits, right? If they are not adding up, right? If the numbers are not making sense, you easily know that something is wrong, and then you can fix it immediately. So he said it was odd that it sort of lasted this that long, December to March, and what he mentioned was that in fraud cases generally, right, or in this case a glitch, what you find out is that most times internal frauds are usually like the biggest risk. External fraud, yes, also a huge risk, but the internal ones are usually like the largest. So it kind of lets you think about a lot of fraud cases we've been seeing. Flutterwave, for example, has been on the receiving end of many fraud cases. We had one from last year, about $2 million, another $24 million case. We also had this year 11 billion naira case. It just goes to show that something really needs to be done about these cases. But to kind of play devil's advocate a bit, it's not just a Nigerian thing, right? I was seeing a report that actually showed that, like, globally, fraud in the financial space every year, at least $4.1 trillion, like, lost, like, yearly. I saw another report, I think in partnership, I can't remember who made the report, but it was in partnership with NASDAQ. And they said, I think in the first quarter of 2023 or 2022, like 3 trillion, like, was moved within the financial sector for, like, illicit transactions. So it still doesn't take away from the fact that it's a big issue in Nigeria and something really needs to be done. So let's move from sad stories to a more interesting one. Nala has raised $40 million. Team Rosarium, who is Nala? Why is it raising money? And what's this money for?
Okay. Who is Nala? What is Nala? So it's a Tanzanian fintech that provides remittance and payment services to Africans. So Series A. First, I think is it good? Probably a bit encouraging that they are raising. First, you don't always see Tanzanian startups in the news. So yes, there's that. It's good news that they're in the news.
With a big fundraise for that matter.
A big fundraise as well. So I think we've not also had a lot of Series A raises this year. So that's one more Series A raise that hopefully shows that certain startups are beginning to mature. But why are they raising? There are two, like I said, there are two major services that they offer. There's the remittance, and then there's the payment. So payments across Africa, and then remittance. So basically doubling down on on the remittance bit and also on their payment services. So yep, that's who Nala is.
We have 3 interesting newsletters. The first is Techpoint Digest, which is a 5-minute run through of everything happening in tech all around Africa. The second is about VCs, founders, and investments. And to get information on all those things, simply subscribe to Equity Merchants. If you're more interested in the workplace and the new trends around employment and employees, simply subscribe to the Modern Workplace newsletter. You find the link to these newsletters in the description. We also saw that Kuda, they said they're going to launch multi-currency wallets in Canada. So basically, they're also entering the remittance space. We are seeing a lot of people entering this remittance space. What is so juicy about that market? Is it big enough? What's the play for them?
So it's what's the big deal about the market? I mean, you want to make money, you want to look for the place where you'd make the most, or where you have people who can actually pay for your services. So the remittance market, typically it's been dominated by large financial institutions. So we're talking MoneyGram, Western Union. So it's been dominated by them. But sending money to Africa is a pain. You're spending about, or you lose about 8% of the money you're sending. So that's a huge problem for anyone who is sending money to Africa from any part of the world. I think we have the highest rates. We have the highest transaction rates globally. So
transaction costs to Africa are the highest.
Yes, transaction costs to Africa are the highest. Sub-Saharan Africa in particular are the highest. I think most people have between 4. So to be fair, remittance is expensive for most parts of the world, or it's more expensive than payments within your country. So, but in Africa, while others have between 4 to 5%, we are hovering around 8%. So it's a conversation that has been going on. How can we reduce these costs? But to the reason they are getting into that market, I think one would be we are seeing a pattern of migration. So migration has doubled. So African migration now has doubled in the last 20 years. Since more than 20 years. In the last 30 to 35 years,
Okay.
our migration patterns has kind of doubled. And what we are seeing is, yes, there's still a lot of inter-African or intra-African migration happening. So people going from Ghana to Togo or Benin Republic to Gabon, for example, we are seeing a lot of that. But what we are also seeing is that as governments fail to provide a certain standard of living, people are beginning to search for the proverbial greener pastures outside Africa. So, in Nigeria, for example, Japa is like, I don't know, it's probably the most used word in the last, or the most used slang in the last 2 to 3 years, which just shows how much people, basically the slang that means to leave or to escape or to run away. I'm not a Yoruba expert, so don't quote me on that. But
Yeah.
we are seeing more people leaving leaving the continent, and when they leave, they do not sever ties, right? So they have family here.
That's an African thing.
No, it's not just an African thing.
Yeah.
It's common. If you leave a country, you may not sever ties. Well, except there's a reason for that. You often do not sever ties.
Okay.
So you have family, you have friends, you have dependents who often stay back and who you need to send money to. So there's that. And then these guys are saying, okay, how about we get some money or make some money by making it easier for Nigerians in the diaspora, Ghanaians in the diaspora, basically Africans in the diaspora, to send money back home and then just take a cut of those transactions.
Yeah.
So yeah, what we are now seeing too is, or what something else that is very important to note is that remittances play a huge role in the economy of Africa.
True.
In fact,
True.
not just Africa here, but in the developing world.
I think for West Africa, remittance accounts for like 7% of our GDP.
Okay, I don't know the exact numbers for like the different
7%.
regions, but we have a case where Nigeria. Okay, last year, 2023 was I think 58 billion, that was remitted to Africa, and
$8 billion.
yes, $58 billion,
Mad.
remitted to Africa, and what that goes into is medication costs for aged parents. It goes into setting up businesses. It goes into paying for school fees back here. It goes into settling debt that you owe people. It goes into a whole lot of things. So remittance is definitely important. Countries like Nigeria, they're the biggest beneficiaries, but we are also seeing that in some countries. I think in Ghana, for example, remittance is increasing. So yes, remittance plays a huge role, which explains. And then you also have Africans who are migrating to certain countries, basically creating an opportunity there.
So remittance plays a huge role, but I mean now we have M5, we have sent by Flutterwave, probably even cheaper cash. A lot of these guys, right? Is Leatherback remittance also? I think sort of, right? We have these players, right, in this space. When does it become? Is it not becoming too saturated? For, I mean,
it's not. So, first question I'll ask, or if you say it's getting saturated, first thing I'll point you to is the sheer amount of money that is sent to the African continent. $58 billion. You are unlikely to capture $1 billion in your first year of operations. Very unlikely, right? So, where is that money? And here's the thing too. $58 billion is documented. That's what's documented. There are unofficial channels for remittance.
Crypto.
That not just crypto. Leave you and your crypto. Not just crypto.
Okay.
There's cash. People remit money with cash.
True.
or remit funds with cash through the black market. Someone is going, you give them some money, and there are a lot of reasons which we can't really go into. But let's just go with official numbers. 58 billion is a lot. I don't. For you to get to the point where you have maybe 2 or 3 players who are processing that much, right? It's going to be a while. So I think the sheer amount of money that is being sent back to Africa is one reason why I think it's not saturated. So previously there were like very few options, but what a lot of fintechs are doing is that they're reducing the cost of sending money back to Africa.
True.
So that automatically gives them market share if they can deliver it consistently. Then we are also, I think we can say, like, with a very good or high degree of confidence, that we are going to see a lot more migration over the next 10 to 20 years. Except we get our acts right across the continent, we are going to see more migration occur. And that just means that there would be more money to be sent back to Africa, because, like I said, you do not cut ties when you leave the continent. So definitely that market is growing. Thanks to COVID, it shrunk a bit between 2020 and 2021, but it's slowly getting back up. While previously it was countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, that were always seeing like the highest. I think at some point Nigeria even had like 50% of the remittance, but now we just have 38%. So other countries are getting in on the act. So we are definitely going to see a lot more people leaving the country or leaving the continent who would need to send money back
home.
So, yes, there might be a lot of players right now. I really don't think there are a lot of players, but there might be a number of players right now. But would you stay past the 4 or 5 year mark? If that's probably when we can now talk about saturation.
I think it makes sense. If you are especially looking at that $58 billion number, I don't think all of them combined probably do a small percentage of that. So
I mean, they are just launching, so of course they would not. They are already established players there who are responsible for that figure you're seeing.
Yeah. So we probably need more of them, because if we have more of them, I'm sure remittance costs will also come down.
Hopefully.
If
I mean, it's not really a technology. It's not primarily a technology problem. So hopefully someone figures out ways to make remittance a lot more cheaper than it currently is.
Okay. Yeah, so still on the fintech side of things, a fintech hub has been launched in Lagos, Nigeria, by UNDP. UNDP is United Nations Development Program, and they've launched a fintech hub in Lagos, Nigeria, which is part of its $1 billion initiative to support Africa's technology startup. So why are we launching a fintech hub in Lagos, and what exactly is it going to do for fintechs? Okay, I have an additional question, but let me let you answer this one.
Okay. So, like you said, it's the UNDP's. They are committing $1 billion over the next couple of years to Africa, and yes, it's starting with fintech. But what they are doing is they are identifying, I'd say, hotspots. So, what country is noted for specific developments, right? What are you well known for? And then they put a hub there. So there are some. I think there are about 6 to 7 hubs across Africa. Nigeria gets the fintech hub for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Other countries get like other sectorial hubs. So your question was why a fintech hub?
Yeah.
That answers it. But why? And I've also answered why Nigeria. What would it do for the fintechs? So I think it's important to clarify that the fintech hub doesn't serve Nigeria alone. It serves the entire continent. So what we have currently is, I think, 43 startups, if I'm not mistaken, who will be working over the next couple of weeks. Is an accelerator / and bootcamp. So they are currently in Lagos. They're going to be working with the UNDP team to refine their products. And at the end, I think they get about $25,000. So it's not just it's not just in Nigeria or a Lagos thing. Lagos was chosen because Nigeria has made significant strides in fintech, and like these guys are coming from across the continent.
I mean, I'm glad that you said that they are starting fintech, so they're probably going to other. I mean, they'll go into other sectors for other African countries,
Obviously,
focusing on the strengths that those African countries have. So, for example,
the hubs are already mapped.
Oh,
They are already mapped. So it's not a fintech is the first that they are launching.
okay.
So they are already mapped. The other hubs are going to be. They're probably going to launch sometime in the year, but they are already mapped.
Okay. So, what challenges do you like foresee for this fintech hub?
Challenges.
Yeah. Will it really bring about the fintech innovation that um, they are planning to create? Is the is fintech still? I mean, like you mentioned when we're talking about um, the remittance fintechs, is the innovation of fintechs, is it still based on technology or something else entirely?
Well, okay. So I guess the question you're trying to ask is, do we still need more fintechs?
Something like that.
And I would say yes, we do. I'll say yes, we do. And the reason is very simple. Yes, we've had a lot of fintechs, but they've tended to be concentrated in one place. And what is fintech? Basically, financial services delivered through technology. So we have a lot of other financial services that we need to start thinking about. There's wealth management, which we are not seeing a lot of. So the likes of PiggyVest, Cowrywise, what do you call them? Bamboo, Rice. We have startups like that. There is insurance or insurtech, as some people like to call it. There is I've talked about payments. Then there's the call banking, fintech as a service, or banking as a service. There are just a lot of other fintech verticals that we can say need some, let's say, innovation. I actually want to see, like, I've been trying to get the composition of the startups that are part of the hub, just to see what the spread looks like in terms of their sectorial focus. And the reason I want to see that is just to know if there is still a concentration on payments and probably neobanks again. So yes, we do need more fintechs, but now what we really need is people who are
Different kinds of
building
fintechs.
for other, well, let's say, subsectors
Okay.
in the financial services industry.
So part of what they want to do with these fintech hubs, or the hubs they are building all around Africa generally, something called University Innovation Pods. But given our educational facilities, right, on the continent, do you think these University Innovation Pods will actually be successful?
It's really hard to say. So on one hand, I like the idea of a university innovation pod.
What
Yeah.
would that even look like?
Well, let's say think of a CC hub in a university. Basically, that's what it's going to. That's what it will look like. Basically, something that's a place where students come. Basically, a place where students come. They maybe workspace. They have meetups, just something like that, right? Basically, a physical structure, space facility that kind of helps to spark innovation, spark connections and stuff like that. I mean, that's what it's looking like right now. They could take it a step further and probably, like, have faculty that is drafted from the schools that they decide to cite it in, and then maybe those faculties, like, maybe creating a curriculum for people who want to go through it. There are a lot of things they could do with it, but like I said, it's you really can't tell yet whether it's going to succeed or whether it's going to fail. But I think it holds a lot of promise. I've been so there's this VC fund.
Mm.
I think it's called the Investy Fund or something like that. I can't remember the exact name. And they primarily invest in startups founded by students, right?
Interesting.
And we probably, yes, I'm one of those people that will tell you you should get a job before building a business. But if we have people who go through these hubs or these innovation pods,
Mm.
get introduced to entrepreneurship, to technology really early, that could help. I mean, hopefully you're not joining it at just as you're about to leave school. But we have stories like the Ethereum guy.
That was Ogheneruemu.
What's his name again?
This the Russian
You
dude.
can't put before. Yeah, Vitalik.
Vitalik.
Yes.
Ethereum, yeah.
So we have such a story, and there are a lot of others of students. Well, everyone uses Zuckerberg, but we have stories like that of people who started off really successful businesses while they were in school, really successful startups while they were in school. So this should help with that. And considering what the population bulge that we expect to see over the next 2 to 3 decades, it makes sense. So yes, I am hoping it's like the execution is
Yes,
where
the
all
execution is
the-
key.
that's where all the work is. If it's executed properly with the right partners, then I think it has a huge potential for success.
I mean, I just really hope that the universities do not frustrate those efforts, especially if they are not going to like use existing facilities in those. Say, for example, they want to like build
You know.
those fixes. Yeah, that would make sense.
Well, I mean, they could use one. They could use existing infrastructure. I mean, what they choose to use is really not an issue. But like, the most important thing is like the execution. Who are your partners in doing this? And then what are the modalities for the engagement? I think those are the two major things that will determine whether it succeeds
But
or not.
what's the name of that dude that gave the Ethereum guy?
That's Peter Thiel. Oh, by
Yeah.
the way, I think CCO even had something like that. I think it was
Wait.
at was it Tai Solari University or College of Education. The
Ah.
CCO had a similar initiative. I don't even know what's up with that. I haven't heard much about it, and it would be interesting to go look at what the results of that collaboration was.
Yeah,
But I think that's probably a pointer to
for those who don't know
what
what Peter Thiel does, I think he asks
that's a
like
problem.
if you are willing to leave school
It's
and
your
then-
fund. You get 120k
Yes,
and
you
then
get 120K.
you drop out.
and then drop out.
Someone should have done that to me. I've really dropped out from Unicom.
I'm not certain that I'll not embezzle your 120K.
Pity. I've been behind bars right now.
They play.
Spending your productive years behind bars.
Yeah, but it's very, very interesting stuff, and some really good things came out of it. I mean, I think the Ethereum story was probably the biggest one.
I'm trying to remember the names of some of these
Others.
startups that came out, but I think they had the Figma guy. Yes,
Oh,
I think they had the
cool.
Figma guy. Who else? I think they're like 2 or 3 unicorns. No, I think more than 3 unicorns
Wow.
came out of that experiment.
So that money is like investment,
Basically, like it's just money to go figure out your idea.
but he like gets a stake.
That I can't remember if it's a stake, but
If he's getting a stake,
whether he's getting a stake or
then
not. Like it's
those are
so
really
he's one of
good
the people who
investments.
he's one of the people who think or who say that the education system is broken. So this is like their way of fixing it. I don't entirely agree with that pattern, but obviously it has created a lot of value. So unfortunately, it's difficult to argue against results. But I'd rather an innovation center in a university where students are encouraged to like experiment. If it works out, fine. If it doesn't work out, you move on to the next thing. Because I mean, 18 for a lot of people. Okay, I don't know about Nigerians at what age, but like between those ages, 16, 17, 18, you don't have a family yet, except your few Foden. So if you don't watch football, sorry for you. But except your few Foden, you do not have a child at the age of 21. So you do not have like major responsibilities. You can take major risk at that age. Hopefully, don't drop out. Don't drop out from what are you school again? 4 year, but yeah. Hopefully, don't drop out from 4 year. Anything you see, just take it like that. But,
Okay. Before Tim Gozim disrespects my alma mater, any further?
That's all I say.
Be careful. Watch yourself.
Is it licensed? You would don't even have like an alumni association.
They
That's how bad it is.
It's still new now. This school
I know
came out.
It doesn't matter. But people like have like.
We probably do.
Have you had anybody who
It's
have
a defender.
you had any successful person apart from you that graduated from that school?
So you think of me as successful? Thank you. Yeah.
The
I mean,
fact that
besides
the
me,
fact that you breed the same air I breed, that's enough success.
besides me, I mean, I know of friends that are doing really amazing things
What are they doing?
out there.
Acting skits.
All right. It has been a very interesting one on the Techpoint Africa podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, share with people that might gain something from this. There are a lot of other stories that we didn't really talk about. You can find them on the Techpoint Africa website. Just go to techpoint.africa and you find those stories there. All right. That's it from me and Tim Gozim on this episode. We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, and stay in school, guys.